Hi, I'm John Rodgers from Cuyahoga Falls, and on this program we're going to do some river barging. As you can see by the picture, it's a mighty big barge, and it is not exactly a barge in the way of carrying coal or anything like that. It's quite a ship. It's called the River Explorer, and the trip was taken in July of 2003. 8 days and 7 nights. And we went Nashville to St. Louis on the Cumberland, Ohio, and Mississippi rivers. And I'll tell you where the stops are as we get to them. But the starting point was Nashville. And while you're in Nashville, you ought to spend a little time around there. Nashville has a population of 488,000 people. One of the places you can go to is the Andrew Jackson Hermitage. Andrew Jackson was our 7th president, 1829 to 37, and his Hermitage was built in 1821, and that's what you're looking at now. And there are some views around the Hermitage. There are some outbuildings and so forth there, but since it was a president's home, it certainly is worth spending a little time going out to. Here are some of the old log cabins. Whether these had to do with slaves or not, I am not quite sure. And here's out in the gardens, a beautiful dogwood there in bloom. This was from an earlier trip that we had taken to Nashville, but you have time to go out to the Hermitage, and here's on the Andy Jackson Hermitage property as well. Then there's another thing in Nashville that you may be interested in. It's a reproduction of the Parthenon. Now, the Parthenon is a famous building in Athens, Greece. And I have been in the Parthenon, and this is it sitting on top of the Acropolis. The Acropolis is the hill of Athens. And at the time I was there, you could go in to the Parthenon. You're forbidden to do that now because of what people do to stuff like this. But this building dates back to, I think it's 500 or 400 BC, somewhere along in through there. The Parthenon, of course, in Nashville is a little newer than that, but it's worth going to see. Now, we are down at the Cumberland River, and my wife and I are walking off. We're walking off of the barge. We have already loaded our stuff, and so this is just stuff around close by. That's the Coliseum over there. And this is called the Batman Building. This is one of the having to do with communications in the area. And here is the Cumberland River. This is the one we're going to be on, going all the way downstream till we hit the Ohio River. We will be going north, but that will be downstream. And the bridges that come across the Cumberland River as you go through Nashville. And here you can see our barge. It is quite large. And very close by there is the Hard Rock Cafe, and I thought these displays were kind of interesting. That backdrop of a mural with a guitar in it, and a riverboat, and the guitar out in front. We're back behind those trees there, the barge that we're going to be on. Close by a display of flags and the like. And then this is a reproduction of Old Fort Nashborough, going back to 1780. The log buildings, and there's a statue in amongst them. And that's a magnolia tree in the background, a southern magnolia if you're interested in it. And here's the rest of Nashborough. Now just off to the right out of the picture is the Cumberland River, where the barge is, the River Explorer. One last look at the Batman building. Now we're on board and in the theater part of the River Explorer. The River Explorer was constructed in 1997 and 98. I love this backdrop. This is the entertainment we had the first night, and that backdrop we will see from time to time. It's a young, it depicts a young person on the wheel, and off to the right is the man who is supervising him as they make their way down the river. Now this part, this is they call them a towboat, even though they push, because once everything towed on these rivers. And this is the Miss Neri. We'll talk a little bit more about her. And these are the sleeping accommodations. This is one barge here and another barge up in here. And this is where the dining room and that theater that I showed you and so forth, all located on their gift shop and the like. The River Explorer. Now Miss Neri, the towboat, this is her. She has twin propulsion. She's one of the most powerful ones on the rivers of America. She has a 360-degree unit, and as I understand it, she has no rudder. Everything is done with the 360-degree unit. Very powerful, very powerful. Now this picture, he will not come quite into focus, but this is the man who had all of this done and who owns it all. He's a millionaire and a real nice fella, and he would get on the microphone if a show was not started yet, and he would tell us stories about the river and about the putting together of the River Explorer. Real interesting guy. Here's one of the postcards depicting different things on the River Explorer, this being the dining room. It was nice, it was good food, nice accommodations and so forth on this boat. Well, it's a barge. Now this is an interesting thing. This is my identification, and you carry it around your neck, and believe me, you carry it around your neck all the time, so everybody knew what your name was and your home location, because when you got to your room, you pulled that out, and that was your key card to get into your room. So you always had it with you. It has staterooms for sleeping, 99 staterooms, 198 passengers. And this is the trip we're going to take from Nashville down here, and we will be on the Cumberland River, going up to join with the Ohio River out this way to Cairo, and then up the Mississippi. We'll stop at Cape Girardeau and all the way up to St. Louis. And the Cumberland is right through here. This is that land between the lakes, is what this is called here. That barge setup, before we go on, the total length is 730 feet. The barges have a 54-foot beam, so they need a little bit of room. They're 50 foot high, but they only draw 6 feet of water, so that's not too bad. The towboat draws more than that, 8.5, the Miss Neri. And then here is our, that's the beautiful Cumberland River, the trees and so forth. And here's our stateroom, and you can look right out, and we can actually open that door and get out on this little balcony. And we are just under the upper deck where I take a lot of my pictures from. But this is our stateroom, they call it. We weren't allowed to call it cabins, it's a stateroom. And this was the name of ours. They are in order by the entry of states into the Union, and this is Wyoming, and that means that we are almost back as far as you can get from the dining room. So we have to do a good bit of walking, but that's no real problem. And here's why we like the Cumberland River, because you're not far from either shore anytime, and it's always interesting, soft, peaceful scenery, fields and forests, and even if a field is there, there will be trees along the sides, and little beaches, not much in the way of beaches, but little beaches, and occasionally you'll have some bluffs and so forth. And here's that picture that I showed you with the entertainers in front of it. Here it is by itself, and you can see the young fella is on the wheel, and his tutor, I guess you would say, is standing close by to be sure that nothing very serious happens. And here are some of the bluffs along the Cumberland, and islands and so forth. It's just a real nice river. We enjoyed the Cumberland River. Back inside the Explorer, this is a mural of LaSalle, I suppose seeing the Mississippi for the first time. I'm not sure, but I think that's what the painting depicts. And while we're inside, we are approaching now a couple of islands, and then we're approaching the Cheatham Lock, which will take us down. Remember, we're going downstream. Will take us down 32 feet. Right in the middle here is a great blue heron sitting on a rock over there, waiting to catch a frog or something of that nature. And this is the area as we approach this Cheatham Lock. You can see it coming up ahead. We have to get this huge thing right into there, this 730-foot barge has to fit in that lock, and the 54-foot beams have to fit in too. Now, a lot of people around here aren't too crazy about Canada geese, but a lot of people never see them, and so that's a nice flock of Canada geese right alongside the lock as we move in. Now we will move right on in up to that barrier, because we need all the room we can get, and then we will drop down. Here's Old Glory and the Corps of Engineers flag flying under it at the lock. Now we have dropped down now, and the front part of the lock is opening, and we will shortly be on our way. But before we go on our way, I just went sort of to the back to give you an idea of how much we dropped. Roughly when we came in, the water was there, and we dropped that much. This lock is 32 feet, so we dropped a sizable amount. And coming on out now, and we are heading for our first stop, which will be at Clarksville, Tennessee. And as I said, the little beaches and all of this stuff. And you're always encountering other barges pushing, towboats pushing, yes, and they're always underway. And then we did get to Clarksville. Clarksville, Tennessee has a population of 75,000 people. And we are ashore, and that is our barge, and they are using it as a backdrop for their performance. This is called the Hot Band, and then you will see the Tennessee Clog Jammers, and they're performing with the barge as the backdrop. and we are their audience on the shore. And here are some of the clog jammers. These are the young clog jammers. These are dancers. And here are some of the more advanced clog jammers. But they put on quite a lively performance for us in front of our own barge. Then the next morning, a bus picked us up and took us out into the countryside to a 19th century village. They have an 1870s area and an 1842 area. And we are first in the 1870s area. You can see it's a log cabin, chinked up with probably clay. And here are some of the fiddlers that entertained us. We didn't know we were getting entertainment as we went there. And a man had his old car there, and he took a few people out for rides in it, not too many. And back behind there, you can see not the clog jammers, got that on my mind, the fiddlers back there. And then we just walked around, went into different places. Here's a little place that probably stores corn. And this is the blacksmith, and my wife bought an article that he had made right there on his equipment. How do you like this rooftop? Looks a little rough for anything to actually keep out water, but I guess it does the job. And then inside, some dainty stuff, you might say. And that was interesting, the contrast. Some quilts. Now, when we get to Paducah, we're going to see more quilts because there's a quilting museum at Paducah. But here way out in the countryside, we saw some pretty good stuff. There's a nice fireplace and a table and so forth. And this is in the best house in there. And then we went on down to this little place, and this served as the schoolhouse and the church. And the teacher was talking and so forth as we left there. And we went over then into the 1842 area. This is in the 1842 area. They only have a few buildings over in that part of it. Much of it is taken up with the 1870 area, but enough over here to keep you busy. And then we went on back into Clarksville, and we stopped at this lady's house, Hatchland Hill. It's a bed and breakfast, and this lady is Phila Hatch, and this is her home. And she gave us quite a lunch. It was really quite good. And she was one of the very earliest airline hostesses. And she's also officially a Belle of Tennessee. And she told us all about some of her early experiences on the airlines and everything. She really weaves quite a tale and was quite entertaining, and the food was very good. And incidentally, and that's her waving goodbye to us as we get back on the bus. Now, we're back in Clarksville, so that we don't have very far to go to the barge. We have already long since come in from the old village. And it is interesting to note that when you go ashore like that, and you go to her house, and you go out to the Collingsville and so forth, all of this, the admissions and everything, are all picked up by the barge. If you go into a museum, you just show that badge that I showed you and sign your name, and you don't pay anything. They handle it with the barge itself, and you go on from there. Now we're continuing on down to Cumberland, and you will see power plants along the way and other things. And here's a little ferry. a little ferry across the Cumberland River. It looks like it only holds the 4 cars. No, those cars are waiting there for the ferry to come over. Yeah, they're waiting for the ferry. My wife and I once crossed the Mississippi River on about a 4-car ferry. Looks like about the same arrangement as they have there. And now we are coming by Fort Donaldson. Fort Donaldson, we're still in Tennessee. Fort Donaldson figured in the Civil War, and on February the 12th to 16th in 1862, Grant demanded and finally got unconditional surrender from Fort Donaldson. Both sides had been able to bring in reinforcements, but the Union forces were just too much for the Confederates, and so they agreed to unconditional surrender. And then we continued on the nice, you can see the reflections in the river, how smooth it is as we make our way down. And the sun sets and we keep on going. And then after we, that last picture was in Kentucky, and we are now in Kentucky. And this is not a very good picture, but they had made so much of this castle-like building that we will be passing. And it turns out it's the Kentucky State Penitentiary. And very shortly after passing this, we pulled over to the side and waited out until daylight. And they did that most of the time so that we would see most everything that we were going through. And now we are in the Barkley Dam, Barkley Lock. The dam is right next to it. And this will drop us down 57 feet. And it's opening now. We've already done the drop, and we will be going out. Now, I don't know exactly where they were in the Ohio River, but there were locks there that were flooded, and we just went over 2 actual dams in the river. But this is the Barkley one, and we are going under a bridge there. Now, most of the stuff that you see, all of this is our barge. This is the upper deck of our barge as we make our way out through there. And yes, it is a little dark, and I think we did pick up a little rain that night. But then we kept on going, and we're almost down to the point where we're going to enter the Ohio River, but we're still in our little Cumberland River, making our way down. I think this bird up here is an egret, I think, or a white heron. Cornfields, neat stuff. Occasional hill in the background, not too many of them. And here are some of those magnificent cliffs. And bridges, all kinds of bridges as you make your way along here. Now this dam is in the Ohio River, and I'm using a long lens to pull it in. And we won't go to that. We are going to be moving off to the left. And we have a little ways to go. Now we're coming right up on an island, and we're going to go to the left. And when we get to the far end of that island, we will then be in the Ohio River. But as we make our way along to get to there, we pass Smithland, Kentucky. You can see the levee there and how high the river can come without flooding you out. And if it goes above that, you get flooded out. Now, as we make our way around this point right here, we will be in the Ohio River this way. Few islands, and very quickly after we get into the Ohio River, we stop at Paducah. Now, we have come to Cumberland here, and I took that one picture of the dam looking up this way from this point, and this is that island, and we continue on along here, and then we're in the Ohio River. And now we are in the little town of Paducah. Paducah has 27,000 population, and one of the things they have are lots of murals on the protecting flood wall, on the inside of the flood wall. And so you're going to see a series of those right now before we go on into the town. These are all painted, and I'll show you more or less later when they how they're done, or where they're done, I should say. All painted on the inside of the flood wall. One of the old days, the mules pulling the cart, and down in the town, the old rail station. That was the fire station. And here's that old rail station with a train in front of it. Out in the fields, looks like some kind of berry, maybe strawberries. And in the town, they really did a beautiful job. And this is the telephone exchange. And those are the people you called Central. Now, not murals anymore, and that is Miss Neri and our barge right there at the town. A few more murals. This is another mural showing a towboat pushing its barges into the lock in preparation for whatever drop it is. This is a mural on the walls, and here's another one as quite a few steamboats get into town all at once. And this is inside the pilot's cabin as the boat is moving into a lock. And then on the city streets, we walk downtown, and we are going especially to a museum called the Market House Museum, William Clark Market House Museum. Beautiful lights there. And inside is this lady who told us all kinds of things. We went to this place twice, and she gave us all kinds of information, very enthusiastic person. And from the second floor of the museum looking down, you see an American flag, and you see all kinds of interesting stuff down below. And then here is a picture of General William Clark from the Lewis and Clark expedition, and he was the founder of the city of Paducah. And over here is a interesting statue. This is Henry Clay, a wooden statue of Henry Clay. It's 140 years old from a yellow poplar tree, and it was carved by a 12-year-old boy, George Theobald, and it's still in excellent shape and it's all wood. And then you find these kinds of things around in this little museum. You even find Abraham Lincoln there. Now, when you're down in this country, you're going to hear not Civil War, you're going to hear a war between the states. And you're going to hear the name of Vice President Alben Barkley quite a bit. You've already heard it once, because the Barkley dam and reservoir. And this was one of two Lincoln chairs that have a story all their own. This flag is an interesting one because this flag was hand sewn in 1858, and that's as the war between the states was coming on, and it was hidden in a bed for 80 years before they ever found it. So they have it there now. And then walking on the different streets, just an interesting town, Paducah. Kind of interesting sign there, Foxbriar Inn. And here's how those, here's where those are. See, this is the opening to the flood wall, and here are the murals, and you saw all the ones going down that side. And when a flood is coming, when the river's up, they can close that right at this point, and hopefully save the town from flooding. Top of a church there, and then when I photographed that, I was in this lady's car. These people have a group called the Redcoats, and the Redcoats have a little tent set up, and they meet you down there, and they tell you all kinds of things and where you should go and so forth. This is Ruth. And when we came back from that first afternoon, we had the whole next morning until early afternoon before the barge would be leaving. And I had gone to this person when we were coming back into the barge the night before, and I said, "Where is this statue of Chief Paducah that I was supposed to see?" And she says, "Oh, 17 blocks away." She said they had a project and they had to move it, and now the people don't want it moved from where they put it temporarily. And I didn't think anything about it. I thanked her and so forth. And the next morning, we had just finished breakfast and we're going ashore, and this lady spots me and she says, "Are you the man who asked me about Chief Paducah?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "Come on." So she took my wife and I in her van the 17 blocks over so I could photograph Chief Paducah, whom you are looking at now, and there's a close-up of him. But these Redcoats, they just love their town so much. They just want people to be as enthusiastic about them as they are. And she just told us all kinds of things about the town as we went. And then we went back to that museum that night, and that late morning, and talked to that woman again, and told her about Ruth. And she said, "Oh, we have one of those trolleys in the town that's named for Ruth, and Ruth is one of the belles of Kentucky." So we've met a belle of Tennessee and a belle of Kentucky on this. But it was really wonderful the way they did that. Took us out there. Now here's the quilt museum. Now they don't let you photograph in here, so the quilts that you see are from postcards that I bought there, and they later made slides of them. And one of these, and I wish I could remember which one of these was made by a man, which I thought was sort of interesting. I can't imagine me doing anything like that, but they're really, really quite well done, and lots of them all over the place. Now, we're back on the Ohio, and we're heading down to Cairo, Illinois, where we turn north into the Mississippi River. And you can see that's a gambling casino. You can see the name Harrell on it, and they're all along the place. Every town's got a gambling casino in it, and I like the bridges. My wife and I had crossed that bridge, we think, once when we were going over to Missouri. all kinds of activity on the river as you make your way down. And now we are at the town of Cairo, and you will see a church steeple over in the distance. Now we have come down the Cumberland, we've come down the Ohio, and we're going to go up the Mississippi. And where we go up the Mississippi, the Ohio is a great deal bigger than wider across than the Mississippi is as we make our way. We're almost ready for the turn. Now we got to go under this bridge. Oh, this is the bridge that we went over to Missouri on years ago. Now, when we come up here, we will make the turn. This is the Mississippi River. We're still in the Ohio. We'll make the turn and head up this way, and then we will be going upstream against the flow. And we have made the turn, and we are in the Mississippi now, heading up. And our first stop along here will be Cape Girardeau, Missouri. Cape Girardeau has about 70,000 population, and they have this sign and other murals on the flood wall facing the river. And if the river goes in flood, they're going to have a mess on these beautiful paintings that they have. And there you can see the steps serve as the levee, and there are some of the murals that they have. Now they do have some on the inside too, which you will see in a few moments as we make our way around the town. Some of it we did by bus, some of it we did on foot. There you can see our barge. We came off right here, and those are those murals going along the river. And this is a mural inside, pretty well done, very clear. And this is a window treatment that I thought was very interesting. Okay, we were walking around now. We're on foot, and those interesting windows, we were on foot when we saw those. And this is either a museum or a library with a fountain out in front of it. And then we will make our way on over towards some other buildings in the town, a large home, I have this labeled at. And then we will see, and here we are on the bus, taking a little tour. And my wife and I will leave the bus at this point, and we'll walk all the way back to the barge, which isn't all that far. But they wanted us to see this Glen House. It's 1883. It goes back to the electricity and the plumbing were added in 1890, and it's restored to roughly 1900, and the vernacular farmhouse style. And they let you take pictures inside, so there's no problem there. And so you will see, I'll just take you through these different rooms as we saw them and call your attention to a few things as we go through. Nice little bed there. I was surprised that the foam here, most of these kind of places really go after those foams so that they can display garments, gowns and stuff on them. But that one was just bare. And here is an interesting little thing. This is called a play castle. Very elaborate play castle. Two of the four posters side by side. Interesting chandelier. Note the part up on top also. And this is the bloom of the southern magnolia. And notice those big shiny leaves. Real nice tree. And then this is the living room. Notice the piano over there. Now you saw a picture of this earlier, but maybe not quite as clear as this. And then the dining room. And here's a real important thing, right in the middle, that stove in the kitchen. And this is the front now, because my wife and I are leaving the bus part of it. We told them we'll walk on back. We got plenty of time, so we thought we would. But the bus and us will go over to the St. Vincent's Catholic Church in a moment. I'm down now at the sidewalk level looking back up at the Glen House. And here's another one I thought had interesting treatment, had enough wrought iron to be in New Orleans, really. And then we got down to the St. Vincent's Catholic Church. This was completed in 1853, but the original was destroyed completely by a tornado. And this is the outside of it, and we're going to go inside and see some of the stained glass, a few things of interest. The upper part is very ornate and well done, and back the Last Supper, and then okay, here's the guy. Here's the gruff guy, and here is the smiling guy. Looks like a court jester, I suppose. And there is the organ back up in there, and then the sort of the side walls. This looks like the Stations of the Cross, and then we're back outside. Now, before we leave that property, we're going off to the left and to the rear of the church because there's a stone back there. And this stone marks where the house of the first commandant was when the Spanish fort was here long years ago. And then here's some flowers alongside of the church. And then we walk across the street from the church. Now the bus is already gone by this time, and they're reworking this old house across from the front of the church. And these are all volunteers mixing cement and doing all kinds of things that they probably didn't think they could do, but they didn't want this thing toned down, so they reworked it. They're reworking it. And here's a Moorish influence. That entrance to there is very Moorish in style, like you'd find over in Morocco. And here are some of the murals on inside walls. And that was the day that they were having an air show. So while they were flying over, I took these couple of pictures of them. That's General Pershing. And this is George Washington Carver, the Peanut Man. And this is downtown now. And that is the, let's see, that's the Presbyterian Church, the first Presbyterian Church up there, and here's a closer view of it. And then here are a few more murals down by the water. These murals are so well done, you know, they're really quite an asset. And that's also a mural. And we're going on up to St. Louis there. Now, this is the shore from our barge. We are already cut loose, and we're starting underway. And this is the little town. You can see the sign that we first saw as we got into Cape Girardeau. Bridge up ahead there. And some nice hills in the distance. Now, I'm going to hold you on that picture for just a moment while I read you an excerpt that Mark Twain wrote in Life on the Mississippi. I had myself called with the 4 o'clock watch mornings, for one cannot see too many summer sunrises on the Mississippi. They are enchanting. First, there's the eloquence of silence, for a deep hush broods everywhere. Next, there's a haunting sense of loneliness, isolation, remoteness from the worry and bustle of the world. The dawn creeps in stealthily, and all this stretch of the river is a mirror. And you have the shadowy reflections of the leafage, and the curving shores, and the receding capes pictured in it. Well, that is all beautiful, soft, and rich, and beautiful. And when the sun gets well up and distributes a pink flush here, and a powder of gold yonder, and a purple haze where it will yield the best effect, you grant that you have seen something that is worth remembering. And you see them over and over. I don't usually see things at sunrise because I'm a late sleeper, but I can really picture Mark Twain's description there on the Mississippi. And if I am correct, this is the Trail of Tears State Park, Missouri. The Trail of Tears was when the Cherokees were forcibly removed from North Carolina and Tennessee to Oklahoma. And they must have crossed the river here. I have no record of how they crossed the river. But our friend Andy Jackson set this in motion by signing the Indian Removal Act in 1838. And 16,000 set out, and 2,000 died on the way, and it's my understanding that about 2,000 more died from things that happened to them on the way, like diseases and the like. And the Trail of Tears was about the Cherokees, but there were many other tribes that were also forcibly removed. And this is a remembrance of that time. Sandy beaches along the Mississippi, quite a few of them, kind of nice. And we will hit sandbars also in just a moment as we make our way along. As far as I know, a railroad runs there. There were no trains going by when we did, so I don't have it in there. But I just have this labeled as strange formations. Kind of interesting things. And these little islands intrigue me. I really like islands. And this bridge is a pipeline bridge. That's simply a pipe going across. And here is a very spick and span power plant. Some of them are spick and span, some of them look a real mess. Here's the flags flying on our barge. And then we start hitting some sandbars. Now, in what we have, you've got to be sure you don't get too close to a sandbar. You wouldn't want to put this thing up on a sandbar. And those sandbars go on around a ways. And then we're coming up on sunset here pretty good. sun's still up quite a ways there, but makes a wonderful picture. And then looking the other way, here's a barge, a string of barges on a towboat. Now, just to give you an idea of what these barges do and the towboats do on these rivers, one barge holds 1,500 tons, or 52,500 bushels, or 453,000 gallons. One barge would require 58 trucks to haul its load. So a 15 barge tow or string of barges would require about 870 trucks to carry its load. So if you can ship by water like this, that is definitely the way to go. And here finally is the sunset. Now we're going inside, and here is a show going on in front of that beautiful mural. And we had some pretty good shows. We probably heard more bluegrass than anything else, but we had some good shows. And the last night we had a wonderful pianist. He was really quite good. Another power plant that looks pretty spick and span. Now remember, we're making our way upstream on the Mississippi River. And we're making our way towards St. Louis. Now this is the first that well, the picture doesn't show it, but right over here is the arch. In St. Louis. We'll see enough of it, so don't worry about it. There it is right in the middle now. The arch in St. Louis. And here's a house that I found rather intriguing on the Missouri side as we are making our way. And we have to go under those bridges, one of which is I-70. To get in front of the arch, which is where we will tie up. Now, the miles on the rivers. The Cumberland, 191 miles. The Ohio, only 59 miles. And the Mississippi, 180 miles. A total of 430 miles on the barge. And now we are in St. Louis. 348,000 population in Missouri. Now notice this little courthouse here, because you're going to see it some more, because it's out of a focal point for the arch, and you'll see it from up above as well. Now when you're looking up, when you go up in the arch, and the arch is 630 feet, I think, 630 feet, you will be able to get out of the little cars that you go in, and you can go in this place, and it has a series of ports on both sides, so you can look into Missouri or you can look across the Mississippi to Illinois when you go up in it. And it has these little cars that run on both sides of the arch. They don't run all the way across. They run up and come back down the same leg that they started on. And from the time you get in your little cart to the time you get up there where you can get out of it, it's 4.5 minutes. This is one of our people tying up our barge. That's about all you can do. You can't dock it, you can tie it up. And this is the next bridge, which we don't go under, and a little paddle wheel going up ahead of us. Now, we had watched the movie Monument to the Dream on board before getting to St. Louis. And it's all about the dream and the building of the arch. It's quite good, so if you get a chance, take a look at it. We are ashore now, and are up by the foot of the arch. And here is that little courthouse. It looks little from up in the arch. And that's our barge. We're still down at the foot of the arch. And that's one of the feet there. And then very close to this point is where you go down below. The first level that you get down below has a museum. And it has a statue of Jefferson. Here's the statue of Jefferson. You pass right by this, going back into the Museum of the Westward Movement. And I have a few scenes in there. And then to go up in the arch, then you have to drop down one more level to get to the little pods or capsules where you go up. But here are a few views in the museum itself. These two are Indian scenes, and these are animated, so these people actually talk to you. These are the Buffalo Soldiers. And that is an authentic stagecoach. You can see Museum of Western Movement. Now we've dropped down, we had our tickets, we got our tickets, and incidentally, even going up in the arch is paid for by the barge. You go in this little capsule, and there's room for 5 people, 2 here, 1 there, and 2 on this side. And when that door closed, there are 8 of these along together. When the door closes, then 4.5 minutes later, you are on top. It goes out to the foot of the arch. You're under the arch now. It goes out to the foot, rights itself, and then goes on up. Now, if you have a tendency to claustrophobia, you may want to give it some thought. But other than that, it's fine. It's no problem at all. We're up in the arch, looking through those ports, looking down at the Mississippi River, and you can see the shadow of the arch on the steps leading down to the river. And still looking out that way, all of the stuff across the river is Illinois. And one of these, I've forgotten which one, is I-80. Maybe both of them are, I don't know. That's our barge down below, our tug, Miss Neri, our towboat, Miss Neri. And this is over in Illinois, this is a gambling casino, a riverboat. Now, on the Missouri side, we're looking down on a little chapel that's very close to the arch, and then we're looking out at that courthouse. See how little it looks from this high up? And then off to the left, just a little, is Busch Stadium. There are several pools around on the property of the arch, and here's one of them that you can see completely. And here is another, well, you can see this one completely also. And these are interstate highways in the city, in your high upper left-hand corner of your picture. Now I'm looking north now, and that's the Mississippi River coming towards us. And we're looking north, and on the far side of the Mississippi is Illinois, but most of the picture is Missouri. And this is a strange-looking, modern-looking boat, and this is the AIDS Bridge, E-A-D-S. That's one of the ways to get over to Illinois. And here's a little closer of that casino boat at night, so it really shows up on the Illinois side. So if you want to lose some money, you can get right over there. And then here's the pianist that was so good on the last show on board the River Explorer. And then as we come back to a last picture of the arch and the closing of our river barging show. Thank you.